Can you imagine paying your parents' mortgage for 5 years, only for them to turn around and give that very house away as a wedding gift to your sister? My blood ran cold that day. But honestly, what they tried to do next, that's when I knew our family was truly broken. My husband, Mark, and I pulled up to Lily's wedding venue, a crisp envelope holding $10,000 tucked into his jacket pocket. It was our generous gift to my only sister, on top of the nearly one-third of the wedding expenses we'd already covered. Mark's investment banking job and my role as a marketing director meant we could easily afford it. Plus, she was family. Inside, I spotted my parents immediately. Mom was fussing with Dad's tie, a picture of pure, unadulterated joy. Dad, while pretending to be annoyed, had a smile playing on his lips. They looked radiant, glowing, actually. Dad seemed 10 years younger. A knot tightened in my stomach. I couldn't remember them looking this happy, this proud, at my own wedding 5 years ago. Pleasant, yes. But bursting with such visible pride? No. I quickly pushed the thought away. Not today, Tessa. The ceremony was perfect. Lily was stunning, and her new husband, Jake, couldn't tear his eyes away. I sat between my parents and Mark, trying to focus on the day's happiness, but that nagging feeling persisted. Their reactions felt different. Later, at the reception, after the best man and maid of honor, it was my parents' turn to speak. Mom tapped her glass. We want to thank everyone for coming today to celebrate our beloved daughter's wedding. That emphasis on beloved made me shift uncomfortably. Mark noticed and placed his hand over mine. Dad continued, watching Lily grow into the beautiful woman she is today has been the greatest joy of our lives. She's always been special, always brought so much light into our home. I nodded, forcing a smile. Was I just being overly sensitive? Of course they loved Lily. They loved both of us. Then, Mom reached into her purse. She pulled out some papers. Jake, Lily, your father, and I wanted to give you something special to start your new life together. She held the papers aloft. We're giving you our family home as a wedding present. The room erupted in gasps, then thunderous applause. I froze. Beside me, Mark went rigid. I stared at my parents, then at Lily, waiting for the punchline for someone to laugh and say it was a joke. But it wasn't. My parents were beaming, practically bursting with pride. And Lily? Lily didn't look surprised at all. She was crying happy tears, hugging Jake, who was staring at my parents, jaw dropped. The house. Their house. The house with the mortgage I'd been quietly paying for the last 5 years. Because they couldn't afford it anymore, after Dad's hours were cut and Mom's arthritis made full-time work difficult. Not once had they mentioned giving it to Lily. Not once had they even asked me. And I was the one paying for it. I managed to plaster a smile on my face, but inside, I was screaming. Tessa, you okay? Mark whispered. Fine. I hissed through gritted teeth, still smiling as Lily and Jake made their way to the front to hug my parents. An hour later, I couldn't take it anymore. I found Mark at the bar. Can we leave? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He took one look at my face and nodded. I'll get our coats. We made our excuses. Mark had an early meeting, so sorry, beautiful wedding, and left before anyone could protest. The second we were in the car, I burst into tears. I can't believe they did that. I sobbed as Mark started the engine. I've been paying that mortgage for 5 years, and they didn't even tell me they were planning this. I know, Mark said, his voice grim. It's unbelievable. And Lily knew. I wiped my eyes angrily. Did you see her face? She wasn't surprised at all. This isn't about the money, Mark. I don't care about the money. But they could have talked to me first. As we drove home, memories flooded back. All the times my parents had shown clear favoritism toward Lily. Remember when I graduated college and they gave me a card with $50, but when Lily graduated 2 years later, they bought her a car? That wasn't right, Mark agreed. Or my 21st birthday dinner that they skipped because Lily had a volleyball game. A game, Mark. Not even a championship or anything important. The more I talked, the more examples I remembered. How Lily always got what she wanted, while I was overlooked, forgotten. How they attended all of Lily's events but found excuses to miss mine. How they bragged about her accomplishments but barely mentioned mine. By the time we got home, I was exhausted from crying and talking. Where are your parents going to live now? Mark asked as we got ready for bed. If they're giving the house to Lily and Jake. I shrugged, pulling on my pajamas. I have no idea. And honestly, that's not my problem anymore. I turned off the light and rolled over, trying to ignore the ache in my chest. For the next 3 weeks, I went to work, came home, and tried not to think about the wedding or the house. Then one evening my phone rang. It was my mother. Against my better judgment, I answered. Tessa, honey, Mom said, as if nothing had happened. We're having a family dinner this weekend. Your sister and Jake are back from their honeymoon, and we'd love for you and Mark to join us. I wanted to say no. I wanted to hang up. But some stupid, hopeful part of me wondered if maybe they'd apologize. Maybe they'd explain. Fine, I said flatly. We'll be there. Saturday arrived too quickly. When we pulled up, Lily's car was in the driveway, along with my parents' old sedan. I hesitated before ringing the bell. It felt weird not using my key, but this wasn't my parents' house anymore. It was Lily and Jake's. Mom answered, all smiles. Tessa, Mark, come in, come in. She hugged me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't given away the house I'd been paying for without even talking to me about it. I hugged her back, stiffly. Dad was in the living room with Jake, watching a game. He stood up when we entered, giving Mark a firm handshake and me a quick, almost apologetic hug. Where's Lily? I asked, noticing her absence. Oh, she's changing the curtains in the dining room, Mom said casually. She's been redecorating all week. My blood boiled. 3 weeks. It had only been 3 weeks since the wedding, and Lily was already changing things around like she'd owned the place for years. We walked through to the dining room, and there she was, my sister, on a stepladder, hanging new cream-colored curtains in place of Mom's old blue ones. Dinner's ready, Mom announced. Everyone sit down. We took our seats, me between Mark and Dad, with Mom and Lily across from us, and Jake at the end of the table. The food looked good, Mom's special pot roast with all the trimmings, but I had no appetite. The first 10 minutes were filled with Lily and Jake describing their honeymoon in Hawaii in excruciating detail. I picked at my food and nodded occasionally, while Mark asked appropriate questions to keep the conversation going. Finally, when Lily paused to take a breath, Mom cleared her throat. So, we wanted to talk to you about something, Tessa, she said. Well, as you know, we've given the house to Lily and Jake as their wedding present. Yes, I said flatly. I noticed. Mom continued as if she hadn't heard the edge in my voice. The thing is, they're a young couple starting their life together. They need their own space. I remained silent, waiting for her to get to the point. Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair. What your mother is trying to say, he interjected, is that we can't live here with them. They need privacy. I see, I said, still not sure where this was going. So, where are you planning to live? Mom and Dad exchanged another look. I noticed Lily suddenly became very interested in her mashed potatoes. Well, Mom said slowly, we've been thinking about it. And we've decided we're going to move to your vacation home. It's the perfect size for us, and it's in a nice, quiet area. I set down my fork and knife carefully. The vacation home they were referring to was a small cottage I bought with my own money before I even met Mark. I'd saved for years to afford it, working overtime and weekends. It was my special place, somewhere I could go to escape the city. Occasionally, I'd let my parents use it when they wanted a weekend away. Let me get this straight, I said, keeping my voice level. You gave your house, the house I've been paying the mortgage on for 5 years, to Lily. And now you think you're going to move into my vacation home without even asking me first. Tessa, Dad said, frowning. Be reasonable. Where else are we supposed to go? That's not my problem, I said. You had a house. You gave it away, without consulting me, even though I've been paying for it. And now you expect me to just hand over my vacation home to you? It's not like you use it that much, Lily chimed in. I turned to her, unable to hide my anger. Are you serious right now? It's my property. I bought it with my money. I get to decide who uses it and when. Mom's face had gone pale. You can't mean, you're not saying no, are you? That's exactly what I'm saying, I replied.
No.
You are not moving into my vacation home.
Not now.
Not ever. The table fell silent. Then, Mom's face crumpled. How can you do this to us? She cried. After everything we've done for you? We're your parents. Yes, I shot back. And as my parents, you might have thought to discuss this with me before giving away a house I was paying for and deciding to take over my property. You don't have the right to refuse us. Mom said, her voice rising. We have nowhere else to go now. You actually have your house, I pointed out. The one I've been paying the mortgage on for 5 years. But you gave it to Lily. So now it's your problem to figure out where to live. Lily slammed her hand on the table. God, you're so cruel and greedy. You've always been jealous of me because Mom and Dad love me more. You've always been envious of our relationship. I stared at her, stunned by her outburst. Then I turned to her, suddenly calm. If Mom and Dad love you so much and you love them so much, then why don't you let them live here with you? This is a 4-bedroom house. Plenty of room. Lily's mouth snapped shut. She looked away, suddenly finding her plate fascinating again. That's not the point, she mumbled. And Jake and I need our privacy, Mom added quickly. And I need my vacation home, I countered. Sounds like we both have needs. My parents started talking over each other, telling me how wrong I was, how disappointing, how selfish. I stopped listening. I stood up and picked up my purse. Mark, I think we're done here. The next day, my phone exploded with messages and calls from my parents and Lily. I ignored them all. Some called me selfish, some begged me to reconsider, some tried to guilt-trip me with reminders of everything they'd supposedly done for me over the years. I showed some of the messages to Mark, who shook his head in disbelief. I think I need to block them for a while, I said. I can't keep reading these. Do what you need to do, Mark said, kissing the top of my head. Take care of yourself first. So I did. I blocked their numbers and social media accounts, at least temporarily. I needed space to think, to process everything that had happened. 2 weeks passed in blissful silence. No calls, no texts, no family drama. Mark and I fell back into our normal routine. Work, home, occasional dinners with friends who didn't try to steal my property. It was nice. I was at my desk, reviewing a marketing campaign, when my phone buzzed with an alert. I glanced down and felt my stomach drop. It was a notification from the security system at my vacation home. Motion detected. Front door opened. I quickly checked the app. Someone had used a key to unlock the front door but hadn't disabled the alarm system. The security company would be calling me any second to verify if this was authorized entry. Sure enough, my phone rang almost immediately. Miss Wilson, this is Safeguard Security. We've detected entry at your property on Pine Ridge Road. Is this authorized? No, I said firmly. I'm not there and no one has permission to be there. Please send the police immediately. An hour later, my phone rang again. It was an officer from the local police department. Miss Wilson, this is Officer Reyes. We're at your property on Pine Ridge Road. We have 2 individuals here who claim to be your parents. They have keys to the property, but admitted they don't have permission to be here. I closed my eyes, confirming my suspicions. Yes, they are my parents, I said. But they absolutely do not have permission to be in my house. I understand. How would you like us to proceed? We can remove them from the property, but since they used a key rather than forced entry, it's a bit of a gray area for charges. I'll come up there, I decided. My husband and I can drive up now. We're about an hour away. The drive was tense. I alternated between anger and disbelief. How could they do this? After I explicitly told them no, they tried to move in anyway? Who does that? When we pulled up to my vacation home, there was a police cruiser in the driveway. 2 officers were standing outside, and sitting on the front porch steps were my parents, looking utterly miserable. Several suitcases and boxes were piled beside them.
My father stood up when he saw us.
Tessa. Thank God you're here. Tell these officers there's been a misunderstanding. I got out of the car and approached the officers, ignoring my parents for the moment. Thank you for responding so quickly. These are indeed my parents, but they do not have permission to be here. One of the officers nodded. Ma'am, do you want to press charges for trespassing? My mother gasped. Tessa, you wouldn't. I turned to look at her. You broke into my house after I specifically told you no. What did you think would happen? We didn't break in, my father protested. We used the key you gave us. This is all your fault. My fault, my mother suddenly shouted, standing up. If you had just let us stay here like we planned, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't be standing here being treated like criminals.